Hello and welcome to my presentation. So many of us have seen the pictures recently of places like Venice being reclaimed by nature and heard that China's CO2 emissions have been slashed this year. But is the coronavirus really a net positive for the environment? Sadly, that's probably not the case, and in this presentation I'm going to be exploring why. Firstly, some positive news stories. China's emissions have been cut drastically from lack of industry, and global emissions have reduced by about 250 metric tons. It's estimated there are 50 to 90% fewer domestic flights leaving China, so fewer emissions from aviation. On the right you can see a satellite photo of China which shows a drastic increase in concentration of nitrogen dioxide, a gas emitted by industry. So because we've seen a slight reduction in emissions, surely we'd expect a slight reduction in temperature this year, but unfortunately we'll likely see the opposite. Firstly, we must take into account the effect of aerosols. These are released by industry, and unlike greenhouse gases, they actually reflect incoming shortwave radiation, thereby cooling the planet. Lack of industry means less of these in the atmosphere, which means a warmer atmosphere, although this isn't necessarily bad for the climate. In fact, less air pollution in China has probably saved more lives already than have been caused by the pandemic. Secondly, it's near certainty that we'll see a global recession, and we'll see a downtime in industry. You might think this means the planet may start to cool or the rate of global warming will slow down, but sadly there are three reasons why this probably isn't going to happen. The first reason is the presence of Chinese industry. The President of China has declared his country very much intends to bounce back from this pandemic, which likely means investing heavily in the economy. This can lead to more industrial activity in the coming years. The second reason is trends we've seen in history. The only comparable event is the 2008 financial crisis, in which emissions did decrease that year, but then increased hugely the next and released more emissions than even the absence of the crisis. This was mainly due to stimulus packages used to jumpstart economies, which supported things like infrastructure projects, some of which had huge carbon footprints. It's possible we could see the same thing happen again. The third reason is the slowing of the renewable energy transition. The suspension of industry has directly hurt the installation of new energy sources, which are more carbon efficient, many of which are made in China, particularly solar panel. There is also substantial damage done to science. Many projects are slowed or unable to collect data for a season. The suspension of environmental protection laws all over the world must also be taken into account. However, there is also potential hope for the environment coming out of this pandemic. Firstly, many workers have demonstrated they can work effectively at home. Perhaps in the future some of them will choose to remain doing so, and therefore not travel as much everywhere. We've also exposed some incredibly underfunded sectors, like healthcare and education, so there's a potential for long-lasting societal change in those areas. People may also be more willing to support environmental legislation after seeing viral pictures of the natural world less disturbed by human influences. Perhaps the renewable energy transition may actually speed up, as it is currently cheaper to build new solar plants than it is to maintain old coal ones. Thank you for listening.